Hello and good day. Welcome to the world of educational assessments. Welcome to the principles of assessments and evaluation. I hope that you are blessed with the greatest of health, with the best motivation to get through this semester successfully. Now, speaking of semester, we are now in week 14, which is the final week of March and July 2020. And this is my last video, which will be uploaded on YouTube. And I hope that you have benefited from my video sessions and you have learned a lot and has guided you towards the understanding of what educational assessments are, as well as the practical skills to developing highly valid and reliable assessment instruments and tasks. All right, so what we are going to look at today is another topic within the domain realm. Now, we have looked at cognitive domain. We have also looked at affective domain. Now, this is the final domain of learning that we are going to delve into, which is psychomotor domain. Please note the word taxonomies here, the plural form of taxonomy, because we are going to look at three different taxonomies for psychomotor domain, two of which we are going to look at them in detail, and one just like a brief overview. Okay, let's continue. I'm sure by now you have understood what taxonomy is, the definition, what are the characteristics of taxonomies, and their purpose. Moving on, right? And we have looked at Bloom's taxonomy of cognitive domain, introduced by Benjamin S. Bloom in 1956. And then in 2001, Anderson and Crethwell introduced the revised version of the taxonomy. We have also looked at Crethwell taxonomy of affective domain, which was introduced in 1964. And now it's time to look at the third domain, which is psychomotor. Well, as human, we do employ our psychomotor skills, our skills on daily basis. A lot of the things that we do every day involve psychomotor skills: dancing, singing, cooking, driving, using computer, operating on your smart TV, for example. So all these are psychomotor skills. Hence, it is not surprising that within the context of learning in our curriculum, it is also largely embedded by the skills within this domain. In language learning, for example, there are skills that come purely, solely from psychomotor domain. However, a lot of skills within language learning are complex skills, and usually with complex skills, it would involve the integrations of all the three domains. For example, stage performance, drama, even dialogue, public speaking, meeting skills, presentation skills. Now, all these are, to a certain extent, requires physical skills, skills that you will get better and become more competent the more practice that you have. Now, you might be asking why exactly public speaking is a psychomotor skill. Wouldn't public speaking require memorization of text, understanding of your main points? So, aren't they cognitive? Well, with all complex skills, it is often the marriage of the skills within all the three domains of learning. However, please note that knowing what to say is cognitive, but knowing how to say it effectively is psychomotor. Okay? Hence, as teachers, you need to know if you are teaching one complex skills, and this skill is embedded by learning within the three domains. As teachers, you need to know which aspect of learning or representations of cognitive domain, which of these are effective and which of these are psychomotor. Now, this knowledge is important. The ability to make distinctions, which is because when you want to do an assessment of these skills, when you are developing a rubric to measure students' acquisition of this skill, then the performance criteria in your rubric should be representing each of the domains involved. So it's all about knowing the right domain and using the right taxonomy for that particular domain. And where do I even begin with visual art education? Every single thing is psychomotor based. Now, I know that you go to lessons to attend lectures on art history as well as philosophy, as well as principles of arts. Now, these are cognitive. However, a majority of the skills learned in art classes are psychomotor. You name it, you get it. Skills such as sculpture, painting, drawing, photography, arts and craft, batik making. So these are all psychomotor. And of course, physical and health education, the word physical itself represent psychomotor. Now, you might think that physical and health education students learn all the games and all the sports. But in addition to that, they also learn all other important psychomotor skills as well, such as coaching, refereeing, event management. So these are skills, complex skills within psychomotor learning. And of course, selalunya memang I seorang je yang excited bila buat video dekat sini. So, let the game begins. Macam lah best sangat kan? Okay, so we are going to look at two psychomotor taxonomies. Why two? Because both of these are important and you have the option of using A or B, for example. But before we look at these taxonomies in detail, let us look at what or how the levels on this taxonomy operate. All right. So what exactly are psychomotor domains? So these are learning that involve these particular aspects: physical movement, coordination, and use of the motor skill. And when we talk about psychomotor taxonomies, these are taxonomies that describe the learning and development of the mastery or competency of the three areas which I have mentioned. Okay. And when we as teachers measure psychomotor skills, these are usually the criteria that we look at in terms of speeds, precision, distance, techniques in executions, as well as procedures. Now I'm going to show you how do we go up and go down along the stages in psychomotor taxonomy using the taxonomy of psychomotor domain, which he introduced in 1970. Now this taxonomy consists of 5 stages, from the lowest, which is imitation, to the highest, which is naturalization. Now, similar to other taxonomies within cognitive and affective domains, the levels are arranged according to increasing precision. When it comes to cognitive, we do talk about the level increase in terms of complexity. However, when it comes to taxonomies in psychomotor domain, the levels are increasing in terms of competency. And we also do address them in terms of behaviors, because when it comes to when it comes to psychomotor learning, these are learning that requires action, hence behavior, right? And as we move along this level, of course, our competency increase, and this will also involve increase in terms of So now I'm going to show you how do we move up and move down along the levels on psychomotor taxonomy. And this one is by Dave, which consists of 5 stages. So the lowest level is imitation and the highest level is naturalization. Now, when we talk about taxonomies for cognitive and affective domains, we always talk about these levels to be increasing in terms of complexity. But the best term when we are describing levels within psychomotor learning or in relation to competency. As we move up, the more competent we are, and as we move down, the less competent we are. And there are also authors who describe psychomotor learning and associate this learning with behavior, because when we talk about psychomotor, it does involve action, Movement, hence, it does refer to a set of behaviors. And one does move up across these stages with an increased amount of practice, meaning that the more practice you have, the more you will go up along this level. And this practice would basically depend on the intensity of the practice, the exposure that the learner has, as well as the time and energy invested in this practice. Um, it is also possible to move down this level. So this is one major difference between taxonomies of psychomotor learning and taxonomies of cognitive skills. Now, with cognitive skills, one is born with the capacity to exercise all the six thinking processes. And when your brain function matures, when a person reaches certain age, then this person will be able to operate or think at all the six different levels. Now, the more exposure you have with the task or thinking skills within one particular level, the better you are in thinking within that process. Okay. However, it is not the same with psychomotor. With psychomotor learning, the more practice you have, the more you will go up along the level. And the lesser practice you have, then you will go back down. Now, it is not similar to cognitive. You are not born with the skills. These skills are not innate. These skills have to be acquired. Okay. Now, if I was born with these psychomotor skills, I would have known how to use this. Let me just show you this heavy thing. Ni. Ta-da! Where is my camera? Ha, dah buruk dah. Ha. So I bought these rollerblade shoes a few weeks before PKP. I'm having this on my lap. A few weeks before PKP, and my intention was to enroll myself in lesson so that I would master the skills to use this. Okay. But then we were basically trapped inside our house during PKP, and I tried to learn from YouTube videos. So I was a novice learner, not the word was. I am still is a novice learner. I have no idea how to balance myself using these shoes. So I'm going to put this aside so that my hands are free. So I wanted to learn from YouTube videos. I did watch a number of YouTube videos trying to learn how to rollerblade, but to no avail. So that is a pure evidence that these skills are not innate. We are not born with the skills to operate on anything. So any psychomotor learning that we have, this has to be learned. Okay. Right. So we do go up along these stages through more practice, and we also do go down. For example, I was a competent swimmer. I swam like crazy. I went to swimming pool every day, and this was like 15 years ago when I was doing my degree. Okay, so I was actually at this particular level, articulations. I can do 10 laps in an Olympic sized stadium. Cie gitu. Without no difficulties whatsoever. I could maintain my breath. My techniques were okay. I had very nice rhythm. Well, you get the picture. Okay. Now, I was a competent swimmer. I could do 10 laps in an Olympic sized stadium without difficulty. I had amazing breathing technique. My rhythm was okay. Basically, I was here in terms of swimming skills. All right. But then after a few years of swimming, I went to swim almost on a daily basis. I didn't go to gym, but I swam instead, which I think the best form of exercise is swimming. You don't get sweaty, you don't get tired, you enjoy yourself. It gives you a lot of time to think while you are doing the swimming laps. Okay. Until one day when I look at the mirror and was so shocked to seeing my body has turned into Michael Phelps. I had muscular arms because I do breaststroke more than any other style of swimming, and have broader shoulder. I was so shocked and I stopped swimming altogether. Okay. And that was like 15 years ago. And now when you throw me back into a swimming pool, okay, I am probably here. Manipulations. I have forgotten the breathing technique. I have forgotten the rhythm. No, the rhythm you have to establish, and you do have to practice. So what I'm saying is that with any particular skills, even when you are at a high level, for example, and if you don't sustain using the skills, you will decrease on this taxonomy. Okay. Your status or your current level of competency will somehow decrease. It will not be decreasing up to the first level, but your efficiency will somehow drop. So that's the thing with psychomotor learning. You do have to have a lot of practice, okay, and you do have to sustain the same amount of practice in order to go higher. But then when you stop and when you are less engaged and do not practice as much, then you will go down along this level. So that's what I find interesting with psychomotor learning. Okay, so you can go up and you can also go down. So one another characteristic of psychomotor taxonomy is that when you go up, the more practice you have, the better you are. And when you go up along this level, your productions of this behavior will have lesser number of error. Okay, you have greater scale of efficiency. You also will feel more confident in the productions of the skills, and as well as the ability to do these skills automatically. Now we are going to look at this in more detail just after this. Okay, so the first taxonomy that we are going to look at is the one by Dave, which I have mentioned earlier. So Dave taxonomy has 5 stages from imitation to naturalization. Now, I do find the knowledge of psychomotor taxonomy does, in fact, assist teachers to become better in teaching any skills in their lesson. This taxonomy contains stages, and these stages, if you have an understanding of how these stages work, you can basically employ this in your teaching, and this is your pedagogy. You know what to do next and what to focus on in each particular level. Okay, so we are going to look at from the lowest level, which is imitation. Now, as I go through these stages, okay, you should be thinking about all the skills that you have learned. I know that some of the skills have been with you for so many years that you have forgotten how you have acquired them in the first place. But maybe think along the line of the first day you started learn how to drive, or the first day you started to learn how to operate your computer, or learn a particular software, for example. The first day you try to learn a specific dish in the cooking, okay, the first day you start to learn a particular machine, or how to operate a machine. So have a thought about all this while we go through these stages so that it makes more sense, right? So art teachers, physical and health education teachers, even language teachers, science teachers, what else do I have? All teachers, when you teach skills, remember that the first thing you need to do when you are teaching new skills to your students is to show these skills. All right? It's important for you to show the skills to your students so that they are able to imitate the behavior. So imitation is very, very significant to new learners. Remember that if you don't show these skills to your students, they will have no idea how the skills work. So imitation is the key to learning any new skills. I know that sometimes teachers forget about this, or maybe they are not aware of the importance of showing, and they would just like get right into it without even bothering explaining or showing. For example, in your first day of learning how to operate a computer, okay, show to your students what does it take to turn on the computer, right? From switching on the button, from showing all the appliances and the devices. This is the mouse, mana mouse ku, and this is a keyboard, for example. Okay. Sometimes you do take these things for granted because you thought, alah, tak kalau dia tak tahu, mesti dia tahu kan. Tak yalah, abang masak aja. Very, very important that we get from the T. Okay. Show them how to switch on, get to the right Windows operating software, how to switch on, how to turn this, how to turn that. So these are very, very vital steps. Similarly, when you are teaching cooking, for example, uh, just like when you go and watch a particular cooking video on YouTube. So the chef will be explaining all the ingredients, and if any of the utensils are something that is not common, for example, using a pot made of clay, for example, instead of just using a steel pot, then the chef will be explaining before even started cooking. So all these are within imitation step. So imitation is very, very important when you are teaching skills. Do not skip this stage. Okay. And the learning within these skills, do I have? No, I don't have information. It's all presented here. When we are learning new skills, as learners, we do produce a lot of errors. Tersalah buat alah tersalah pula, alah alah tersalah tekan, alah alah macam mana nak buat ni. So a lot of errors, a lot of error productions in the first stage of learning, not efficient. Okay, very, very low confident in producing the skills, tidak confident langsung, sangat banyak error, um, no, not efficient at all. And when you are presented with something that you have not learned, you don't know how to deal with it. Okay, so learners at imitation skill can only do things the way these things are shown to them. Cikgu tunjuk, dia boleh buat. Cikgu tak tunjuk, dia tak boleh buat. Benda yang cikgu tak tunjuk, dia tak akan mampu fikir dan buat sendiri. Alright. And learners within imitation stage cannot operate on the skills on their own. They need teachers to be with them in order for them to be able to produce the skills at this particular stage. Alright. You can read the examples as well as the verbs that are associated to these skills. Now, as we move on higher from imitation to manipulation, students still require teachers' presence in order to carry on with the skills. However, teachers' presence is minimal. They are able to do these skills with lesser number of errors, with a bit more confident. However, when they are presented with new things, they cannot do. Okay, so just imagine you on your first few days of your driving class, right? So in imitation, the driving instructor will show you, okay, let's get inside the car. First, you make sure that the mirror and the side mirror are adjusted according to your height and convenience. Make sure that you adjust the chair, the seaters of the car. Make sure that you put on your safety belt, okay, and then you start the car. And as learner, okay, these operations do not come automatically. You will observe, memorize, ingat ni. Okay, mula-mula nak kena buat apa, lepas tu nak kena buat apa. And you don't even have confidence to drive the car yet because you are here. And you can only drive the car the way the instructor show you, but very, very basic manner. And as you move to manipulation, the second stage, this is one stage higher, you can drive the car, but you need the instructor to sit beside you. Kalau instructor tak ada, you menggelabah. You cannot produce the skills. You have greater confidence in relation to being at these skills, more confident than when you were here. Lesser number of errors, dah ada confidence sikit, error pun dah berkurang, but there are still errors. Kalau bawa kereta, pergi ke jalan raya tak mampu lagi. Kalau pergi jalan raya, nampak lori, dah mula So, when you are presented with new situations or something that you have never anticipated, you don't know how to deal with it. And as we move to the third stage, precision, I'm just going to go to this slide. Okay, See, refining, getting better, and the production of the behavior is more precision, more exact. You have confidence. Now you can drive without the instructor. Lesser number of errors in relation to the previous two stages. So high degree of precision. Okay, so at this stage you are able to operate on your own. You are able, I mean, like even at home you can drive your father's car keliling taman, tak ada masalah tapi nak pergi jalan raya sangat-sangat berdebar-debar. Okay, very very fearful, you can't, but because you are not at the point where you are able to do anything if something unexpected happened. But in terms of the executions of the skills, you are there. You can do the skills, no problem. The fourth level, articulations, you can remember these as almost pro. Like you are there, you are good. You can articulate the skills well, and these skills are produced with extreme amount of efficiency and accuracy. And with this level, when you are presented with new situations, you can handle these situations accurately without having much problem. For example, when you go for your practicum attachment, when you do your micro teaching, usually you are here in precision. And if you are here, when somehow things go awry or things do not go the way you have planned in your lesson plan, for example, if you are at precision level, then you will have difficulty in handling the situation. You need to talk to your mentor, you have to discuss with your friends, you have to maybe discuss with your supervisors, trying to find ways to solve this problem. But if you are at articulation stage, then you are able to handle these problems on your own independently because you know what to be done. You can think on your. Now, this is a level when you are very, very comfortable with your skills. Okay. And the final level, which is naturalization, this is when the production of the skill is automatic without even you realizing it, because you have been exposed to this skill so much that it has become part of you. And then the production of this skill is natural skills. For example, you are at this particular stage when it comes to driving. Okay, when you want to go somewhere, you don't even realize when exactly did you leave the house, bila you start kereta, when do you go out of your porch, tiba-tiba je dah sampai. Okay, and when you can drive the car by talking with your friends, you can think of other things while you are driving, as opposed to driving when you are here. Okay, you are always aware macam okay aku kat mana, aku nak buat apa lepas ni, kalau macam ni aku nak buat macam mana. So this is here. But when you are at the highest level, whatever things that you are doing becomes automatic, up to the point that you don't even aware that you are doing the skills. Okay, so when it comes to prayer, when you are performing your solah, okay, kadang-kadang you are not even khusyuk because this is automatic. Tiba-tiba je dah habis solat dah. Alamak, aku rokok berapa kali tadi berapa rakaat tadi However, just to show you how different stage here functions differently from one another. When you are at this level, the productions of the skill is automatic, so much so that the learner are not even aware that they are producing the skills. Okay, so when it comes to teacher training, when we want you to be good in teaching with all the pedagogical skills and pedagogical knowledge, usually students will leave their teacher training colleges being at either higher level of precisions or articulations. Okay, sometimes you go out with a degree at this level. Okay, not necessarily, but sometimes. And of course, naturalizations or higher level can only be achieved when you are being placed in real setting. Okay, so it's always learning by doing for you to move up along the stages. Right, so that's basically sum up the stages of Dave's taxonomy. Now, Dave taxonomy is suitable to be used when the new skills that you are teaching basically involve learners who are beginners, learners who are about to learn these skills as something new to their life, but something that is not really unfamiliar. They have familiarity with the skills. It's just that they have not really learned how to operate or perform a particular skill. But when it comes to the second taxonomy that we are going to look at, so I'm just going to go to the right page. So the second taxonomy that we are going to look at is Simpson's Taxonomy of Psychomotor Objectives. This was introduced by Emily Simpson in 1972. Now, this taxonomy looks a bit more complex because if Dave had 5 stages, then Simpson has 7 stages. So he has additional of 2 stages in comparison to Dave's. When you are teaching learners who are novice, then the best taxonomy to use is perhaps in Simpson's taxonomy. Right. So the taxonomy consists of 7 stages from perception up to origination. You will find that some of the levels are similar to Dave, with 2 additional levels in the beginning. It does set this taxonomy apart from other taxonomies. Now, the difference between Dave's and Simpson is that Simpson's does take into consideration the learning challenges of novice learners, learners who have no idea, no familiarity with the skills that they are learning. It begins with perception and then set, right? Before it moves into the third stage. Now, this third stage, which is guided response is a level similar to Dave's first stage, which is imitation. Basically, the difference between the two is that the rest of the levels from stage 3 until 7 are very much similar to Dave. So these are the two taxonomies side by side. We have on our left the one by Dave, as well as on our right, the one by Simpson. Uh, the third level for Simpson up until the 7th level, the highest level, they are basically similar to all the stages on Dave's taxonomy. This is guided response, mechanism, complex over response, adaptations, and origination. The characteristics and how these level functions are very much close. All right. However, in addition to what Dave has proposed, Simpson has added 2 more earlier stages, which are perception and set. Now, these are basically the stages for novice learners, learners who had no clue the skills that they are about to learn. Hence, what Simpson has or proposed in the taxonomy is that when you are dealing with novice learners, it is very important to take into consideration their readiness as well and being in the right mindset before they even begin attempting the newly learned skills. So with perceptions and set, this may look like with the additional of 2 stages, it might incur a lot more work on the part of teacher or instructor. These may or may not be the case. It could just involve simple considerations and simple process and environment that the teachers prepare prior to get students to learn. Okay, so with perceptions, basically just making aware the skills that they are about to learn is just with the mindset of getting students to be familiar with the skill sets that they are about to be embarking on. Okay, so for example, if a student has never played a guitar and you are a music teacher and you want to teach students how to play guitar 101, for example, and you know that these are novice learners, maybe just give them the guitar first, let them hold it, feel it, play with it for a while just to listen how the sounds produce. Maybe show them video of how people play guitar. So these are just perception, getting ready. Okay, and then you move on to set. So set basically transition period from perceptions to guided response. So guided response is when you actually teach the skills. This is similar to imitation in Dave's stage, but before they embark on learning these skills, they need to be in the right mindset to do that. Okay, if this is a race track, for example, then a marathon, for example, and all the runners are ready, just waiting for the referee to pull the gun or pull the trigger. So this is set in relation to taxonomy, getting students to be in the right mindset. So, for example, if you are learning how to cook an Italian dish, and as an instructor, you know that this dish is very foreign to your students. So you prepare one sample of dish before they come to the class, and when they are there, you show them videos of the regions in Italy. You get them to taste the food. Okay, and when they have so that's perception. When they have demonstrated favorable response, you know that they are ready, so that's set. And then you move on with the first stage of learning, which is guided response. So these are simple considerations when it comes to perception and set. They don't have to be really well established and laid out. They don't really have to be complex, just about getting the learners to be on the right mindset and readiness before they begin to learn the new skills. Okay, so I'm not going to explain the rest because the rest of the levels are very much similar to Dave. Okay, however, before we end this video, I do have one more taxonomy that not to learn extensively. This is just like an overview because this is one of the well-known taxonomy in the learning of complex skills, particularly within VET setting or TVET setting. Okay, so this is Dreyfus model of skill acquisition to measure learning within vocational settings. It has 5 levels from novice to expert. The way they are function is very much similar to Dave. It's just that the label is a bit different. Basically, when we are measuring competency, competency itself is very complex. And if you want to measure competency in the same manner you measure other classroom learning, you'll die because there are so many things to cover. So usually when we are measuring competency using Dreyfus models of skill acquisition, it's dichotomous in nature, meaning that the rubric usually only has 2 options. Of course, it has explanations, standards, and everything. We only have to establish whether the candidate is competent or not yet competent. But this just want to show you that in terms of psychomotor assessment, there are a plethora of taxonomies involved, and the ones in complex setting, we usually go with the assessment using Dreyfus model of skill acquisition. However, when it comes to classroom learning, right, in the measurement of skills with regard to psychomotor learning, you do have 2 options, either using Dave's or using Simpsons. And what to use, when to use, depending on the familiarity that your students have towards the new skill. Either they are beginners, they have already some familiarity with the skills, it's just about learning the know-how, then you can use Dave. However, if your students are really foreign with the skill that they are about to learn, you do want to take into consideration their readiness and use Simpson in the process of you framing your lessons and your assessment. Okay, so we have looked at 3 different taxonomies, 2 in quite detail, and one, see, I have passed the slide that I want to show. And we have looked at reference models, just an overview of it. Basically, I hope that this video is useful for you to have a better understanding of how to structure and carry out your lessons involving psychomotor objectives. With that, if you have any questions, feel free to leave the questions underneath this video. I will be stating the link where you can download this slide at the bottom of my video as well. So till then, take care, stay awesome, and stay wonderful. Bye, guys.